So let's real quick talk about fishing in a crazy wind in a small boat. All right, so one of the first things that you really need to have figured out before you go out in crazy wind with any boat really is your battery capacity. Even on a small boat, you know, this is a relatively small boat, and I've got two group 20 somethings, I think 27s or 24s, 12 volt batteries. And so those are wired up in parallel, and they're wired up in parallel so I can get additional capacity out of them. I'm not running a 24 volt trolling motor, but running two batteries on 12 volts obviously gives me a huge improvement in my capacity on days like today. I've been out here for 5 hours or so, and I'm still at 12.3 volts. Yeah, it's dipping down to 11s when I get on it, but that helps a lot. So that's thing number one, is take a look at your battery capacity. Tip number two, put your bow into the wind. You have almost no boat control if the wind is to your back, because that trolling motor, A, doesn't really like to go in reverse. B, you're steering from the bow of the boat, and it's just, the dynamics of that don't work out very well. So it's better for you to push your nose into the wind. Yes, it's hard to use live scope or something like that, but if you find a spot that you want to use your live scope on, get around it so that you're still facing in the wind and fish it that way. That's tip number two, is bow to the wind. Tip number three is not, I didn't bring one today, but get you some sort of drift sock. And it doesn't have to be expensive or elaborate. Get you one or two 5-gallon buckets, you know, 3-inch hole saw, something like that. Put a big hole in the bottom of it and hook it to one of your cleats. That will help you slow down your drift substantially, especially in a small boat. You need that drag and that resistance, and if you run two of them, your boat will pretty much run perpendicular to the wind direction, which, depending on where you're running, may be exactly what you want with one or two people fishing. Tip number three, some sort of drift sock or drift control. Next thing is obviously going to be some sort of anchor. You should have one regardless if it's windy or not, because if you have any issues with your boat, you should be able to keep in one position and try and get it fixed. This is a 15-pound anchor. It's nothing fancy. Holds a 17-foot boat just fine. But what I also have is stolen from the kayak world is an anchor trolley. Let me show you how that works. All right, this is just some paracord, an extra cleat, and a carabiner. I'm going to run that line through the carabiner and tie it off to the cleat. This carabiner is actually in the middle of the boat right now. And so what that's going to do is, as the wind pushes against the boat, it's going to turn it 90 degrees to the wind. So I can fish this shoreline that is getting beat up by the wind parallel to the bank, which is pretty helpful if you have two people fishing in the boat, or if you just want to control what position your bow is in. If you're using live scope or something, I can rotate the boat. So let's just say I want to turn the boat so the wind is to my back, and now I'm looking at the shoreline. So I'm going to give it some slack here, and I'm going to put this carabiner, or the anchor lines run through it, all the way to the back of the boat. So I'm just kind of tugging on the anchor and moving it back at the same time. Pull and move it back. Sorry about the wind. It's kind of the whole point of doing the video, yeah. All right, so I've got the carabiner at the back of the boat, and you've probably watched as I do this, the boat is rotating now. Now I'm staring at the shoreline, so if I wanted to fish the bank that's getting hit by the wind, I can do that. So that's tip number four, obviously an anchor, and really this little cheap anchor trolley is pretty sweet. All right, so for my next trick, we're going to be using this guy right here. This is a shallow water anchor pole. I think this one's 7 or 8 feet. You can make these out of some steel and rebar or something like that if you absolutely had to. Let me get the boat spun around and I'll show you how this guy works. All right, so this is a trick taken from some bay fishermen that I went fishing with a couple months ago. So this guy, you stab it down in the shoreline, as deep as you can get it. Grab this line and tie it to one of your cleats. This guy will flex over and take some shock. And once you tie it off, that's your Mickey Mouse power pole. It works really well. This is very shallow water. It's good for quite a stiff wind, especially on any type of small boat or kayak. It'll hold very well. But that guy will sit there, it'll flex around all day long. and hold you in place. So that's tip number 5. I hope you found this helpful. This is something that we deal with all spring and all fall here in Texas. It is always 20+ mile-an-hour winds in that time of year, and we love to get out and fish. So if you like what you see in the video, give me a like down below, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you next time.